If you love horror, the macabre, or skeletons in general, my drawing Bugia de los Muertos might be just what you're looking for. My link tree, linktr.ee/CATtheMinion, gives you easy access to Etsy, DeviantArt, and Amazon. In my Etsy shop, you can find Bugia de los Muertos in the flat drawings section. Use coupon code 3star17 to get 17% off your purchase of 3 or more items. Additional promo codes are available to visitors of my Patreon. You can get prints of this drawing in my DeviantArt shop. Just click it. And when you get to the individual page, click the Buy From button. Once you click on the button, you can select from the print menu various fine art prints with optional framing or small art gifts like mugs, postcards, and magnets. You can also find Bugia de los Muertos in reproduction on the cover of my dark poetry book, Lantern, which is available in paperback or Kindle format on Amazon. Thanks for getting spooky with me. The video you came here to watch starts now. Welcome to CATtheMinion YouTube channel. My name is Teresa, but you can call me Cat. This is Shet Air episode 10, and my guest this week is Bram Johnson, the mastermind behind Scopic Sounds. Bram is an animator and musician.
Hello, talking to Bram Johnson today, and Bram is a musician and animator. I don't think we've had anybody who animates yet in particular. I think Sam does some, but not like what you're doing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show people what your artwork looks like. Okay. I'm not gonna play any videos because I don't really want to do like what's it called? Copyright infringement. So
yeah, get the idea.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the web page version of your Instagram, just because it was easier for me to bring it up this way. So you have Scopic Sounds, which is your personal businessy kind of thing. Is that?
It's all I've got. I'm really
your creative outlet here.
I'm not really a personal social media guy, so it's all guitars and animation.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I should say like this is what your business is called, or this is your alter ego, or something like that.
I mean, you know how it is. An artist having a business is like a oxymoron. So I've got a day job, but this is what I would like to be doing.
Yeah, I feel you. So I'm just scrolling down here to show some of your artwork, which is always exciting for me. Just hopefully not scrolling too fast. A lot of these are stills from your animations, correct?
So like the ones with the pedal and the sketch in the background, I try to like.
There it goes. It's angry at me now. I got to show some of it before the thing. I just didn't feel like logging in. Yeah. Okay, and then we have your YouTube page here.
Yeah, so this is the main source for all the full length stuff. And then Instagram's just, I don't know, whatever it is, whatever I feel compelled to do on a day-to-day.
Right. So I'm just scrolling down a little. For some reason, when I went to look at this, I wasn't subscribed to your page, and I was like, "What the hell?" I thought I was subscribed to your page, so I fixed that in a hurry. So I'm just showing this a little bit so people can see that there's a bunch of stuff there, and those are all for everybody who's watching this. Those animations are all sort of psychedelic and trippy, and there's like guitar and effects and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's theoretically they're guitar demos of certain effects pedals. But not everybody enjoys just watching somebody sit around and play on a guitar. So I was like, I'll do it as a song. I'll do a story. So like, even if you don't care about guitar, you can enjoy it. And if you do care about guitar, you can be a dork like me and really get into it.
I like that you have a dual purpose going on there. Plus, it's really entertaining, and I feel bad because I haven't really watched that many recently, but maybe it's because for some reason I ended up not subscribed to your page, even though I thought I was. And I've been so busy that I'm just like, every time I see my friend's stuff, and I'm like, yes, I like it, please make more of it. And then I'm like running around because I'm like, I don't have time.
Yeah, it's really hard to keep up with everything. And then like, if you fall out of rhythm on following something for like a week or a month or whatever, plus because they take a long time, they come out like sometimes once a month. You know, sometimes there's more than a month. Sometimes there was one where I had 3 come out in like probably within a month. So it's very sporadic, and I'm aware of that. But one man self-taught
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like when you're doing everything yourself, you can't just crank it out like a machine. Like I was doing like this that we're doing right now, my Chatter show. Um it's I did like 9 of them in a row, and then it's been like 3 weeks. And I'm like, dang it. I'm like, well, I guess this is season 2.
But that's it. Like if you have anything else to do, it's just like it's having a second job.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
all
it's
good.
it's definitely not like a 100-person TV show when you're like the only employee. And
Yeah.
I found out just from making like the little short animation
Mhm.
for the beginning of my videos that it takes a long time, and my drawings weren't even that good. It's just like real like it's block of color and moving it around a little
Yeah.
bit.
But I mean, it's fundamentally all the same. I mean, that's
Yeah.
why I got into animation, because I kind of thought um how hard, like it's an old tradition. It's been around for a long time. I'm like,
Hmm.
if somebody else can do it, I can probably do it, because
Yeah.
I started doing it just because of lockdown,
Hmm.
and my band needed a music video, and I was like, yeah, sure, I could probably do that. And then
Yeah.
it, like, months passed. It was super arduous, and I was like, oh, I'm never doing that again.
Hmm.
And then the pandemic kept going, and I was like, oh, God, we need another music video.
Hmm.
So I did it again, and that song was called King of Machines, and that was the one where I kind of found the style that worked for me.
Nice.
And then around the same, well, that same year, I had won in a raffle this effects pedal from a guy who's become a friend of mine.
Cool.
I was just so excited about it. I was like, you know what? I should make a demo for this guy because I love his stuff. And
Hmm.
I can't take anything, even if I win it, I still feel like kind of bad that I won something for free that somebody worked on. So I was like, I still need to say thank you. I'll start this.
Yeah, I'm like that too. I
Yeah. And,
think it sort of comes up from like, the town that we grew up in is sort of provides that kind of environment where it's like, sometimes you feel like you're not allowed to have stuff.
yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because I don't talk to too many people from Bradford.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear that's a shared experience, because
Yeah.
you don't run into too many people to relate to out in the world.
Yeah, it's like it's like a niche environment that doesn't it's hard to describe to people, especially because it's different than it was like 35 years ago.
I haven't been back in quite a while because
Yeah.
nobody.
And I don't blame you either.
No, I did like a nostalgic drive by
Hmm.
years ago. I mean, probably 10 years ago, of like my
Hmm.
old house. But like even the house I grew up in, like, so we haven't lived there in 20 years or more.
Yeah.
It looks different. Trees have been cut down. There's new
Hmm.
houses and stuff. It's
Yeah,
like,
and like the bridge like collapsed and then they had to rebuild it.
wait, what bridge collapsed?
One of the ones on I think it was like the one coming from 114. I think that one collapsed and then they had to rebuild
Breezy
it.
Hill?
Yeah.
No kidding. I had no idea.
Yeah, that was like they had like this huge Mother's Day flooding right in like 2014 or something,
Okay.
and a lot of the bridges collapsed. There's this one bridge in Newport that's like going around the corner heading from Guild into Newport that's like just to the left, and that bridge has been closed for the last 16 years because of the
Holy cow.
flooding.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
wild because we always had flooding. I mean, I remember a couple of years we couldn't leave our road because both bridges were flooded over.
Yeah, that was really bad that year. It washed out a lot of bridges in New
Jeez.
Hampshire.
Hmm.
This is sort of localized reporting for anybody who's watching this video.
Anybody from Bradford knows how important bridges are to us.
Yeah.
A newspaper, and
Hmm.
I don't know. We don't have a lot to. We've got some very tall pine trees and
Yeah. Um, so I actually have the 3 questions. So the first one is, what is creativity and where does it come from,
yeah.
in your opinion?
Well, it's a tough question. I don't know if there is an answer, or like one answer for like,
Yeah.
for me. I always approached. Maybe I'll say where it comes from, sort of.
Hmm.
For me, I always approach creativity of like, what did I want to see in the world that wasn't already there?
Hmm.
like the kind of things that I really gravitated towards when I was growing up were always these like very extravagant imaginations. Like when I was little, I remember flipping through like MC Escher or something.
Oh yeah, Escher is like top shelf there.
Yeah. And like Edward Gorey was one of my favorites.
Oh, I don't know that one. I gotta write that down.
You may know him once you see the drawings because
Probably.
he did the sort of like graphic comics, I don't know, and they
Oh
rhyme
yeah.
time. But he would do things like an alphabet of different ways that children were dying, like horrible tragic
Oh, I
death.
think I have maybe seen that one.
Yeah, the ghastly Crumtinis. But the drawing style was so interesting, and there were so many like surreal stories. So
Hmm.
I just like grew into that. Like I love Terry Gilliam movies, and I
Oh
love
God,
David
yeah.
Lynch. So I really appreciated things that showed me the world in the way that it wasn't, and like through that I saw the world as it was, maybe in a different way.
Yeah.
But I liked the thing I like about a lot of those things too is they're very open to like what you get out of them.
Hmm.
Whereas I can look at a perfect, like when I used to go to museums and stuff, I would see
Hmm.
these paintings that I'm like, wow, amazing, it looks like a photo, that is an incredible technical
Oh
achievement.
yeah.
Super bored, and then I would wander off and I'd look at Munch or Klimt or something, somebody who was
Uh-huh.
like showing something that was not realistic at all, but
Yeah.
there was something like very human and vibrant and real about it. And
Yeah.
so it's just what excited me. So like what I was saying earlier about the demos, the videos I do, like most guitar demos are like a dude sitting at a chair playing guitar. And I was
Yeah.
just, that's cool, but that's not what I want to bring to the world. Um, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not that one's good or better or worse or anything. It's just if I'm going to do it, I wanted to tell a story. I wanted to, you know, be, I don't know, unmistakably whatever it is, for better or for worse. Because
Right.
for like some people, it's not going to speak to them at all.
Hmm.
That's totally okay. But I just like kind of presenting the world in a way that like it's not that I wish it was, but like in some ways I'm like, oh, it'd be cool if the sun had a face. It'd be cool if creatures and animals and people were like indistinguishable. It'd be cool if things were strange colors and you traveled through portals and stuff. It's just
Yeah.
stuff that really appealed to me growing up.
Mhm.
Like
Like a
I
heightened experience.
yeah, well, like I always like Calvin and Hobbes and how like you
Oh
couldn't
yeah.
tell where reality ended.
Hmm.
Like obviously a lot of them were daydreams and stuff, but there were also things happening in the comic that he achieved through Hobbes that you're like, well, he wouldn't have been able to do that without help. How did that happen? Like, I
Hmm.
love that it's never quite explained, and you can sit around and wonder about that forever. Um,
Yeah.
and for me, like, I guess the most successful creativity for me, or what creativity is to me, is when somebody makes something and like anybody who looks at it can get something different out of it and get
Yeah.
some have their own experience. And even if you tell them the story, like there's a lot of songs that tell a very specific story, but it's
Right.
still something different to different people. And I
Hmm.
think just that being able to like use one thing that can tap into all these different experiences that different people have and
Right.
them get their own satisfaction out of it. I think that's what it always excites me about creative things.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
good. I like that answer.
thanks.
When some people are like, "Oh, it's everything," or it's like this one specific thing. So
Hmm.
I think you said some of this already, but the second question is, what are you trying to express or accomplish with your art forms? So it's like, I have some examples, but I mean, you're an artist, so you kind of know what that means.
I don't know. I always struggle with things like even referring to myself as an artist. I think I have a very strong like imposter syndrome
Oh
because it's
yeah.
like something I just decided to do.
Mhm.
Like, part of me still thinks like, oh, they're just still silly doodles that I like to do.
Mhm.
So like I think all I really want to do is like tell something that is like complete and honest in and of itself, like for what
Mhm.
it is. And
Right.
so with each video, because there's a song component, there's um there's a musical component, there's a lyrical component, there's a visual component. And so like for those, I want to make sure that I'm doing the pedal, the guitar pedal that I've been given, and the person who built it. I want to be doing them justice. I
Right.
want to be telling a story that I'm proud of, you know, whatever it is, because they're obviously they're weird little stories. It's not like you know, there's some like grandiose notion of what I'm doing. Like some of them, it's just a bunch of cats in a spaceship going into a black hole, you know, like, but in and of itself, like as long it works on its own. And like sometimes when I go back and I look at them, I'm like, ah, all right, yeah, that works.
Like a subconscious, like like moving forth kind of a thing.
I guess because like going back to the first question, where creativity comes from. Sometimes people ask me, and I assume everybody who does anything creative, where they get their ideas. And the truth is, I don't really know. Like I sit down and I start writing a storyboard for these, and usually one thing comes out of the next, and I'll just kind of go through it and go through it, and there's just there's a feeling that it makes sense in itself.
Right.
Even though it's weird and surreal and all these things.
Like it's
And
true to its own universe.
yeah, and there's just like I always felt like in every project or anything you're doing, there is a sense of when something is done or on its way to being done
Yeah,
or
I
does
agree.
complete. And like it's a really sort of mundane example, but I used to work at this farm in New London, and one of the things I had to do there was pick flower bouquets. And it was I was super slow at it because I could not finish without feeling like it was done. And there was like symmetrical aspect and like there was just some feeling, but I would always know when it was done, and I always felt really satisfied about it. But it was like the only job on the farm where I could not rush. I could not get myself to go faster because it had to be this complete, you know, thing.
Yeah.
And I really liked that. And I've always felt like I'm better at telling when something's missing than necessarily saying what something still needs.
Yeah.
But if I just keep pushing through, eventually all the pieces fall into place in some regard.
Yeah, I know what you mean about that. That happens to me too. It's sort of like sometimes it's sort of like, well, I give up, and then like I'll be like, okay, I'm done working on it, and then I'll look at it, be like, ugh, and then I'm like, you know, like still fussing with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that feeling.
Yeah, putting stuff down is the great way to do it too.
Yeah.
If you can, because like there's a lot of times where I'll just hit a wall, and then I will, the second my head hits my pillow and I've given up, all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, and then I'll like jump back out of bed and finish something up.
Yeah, that happens to me too, where it's like I get these good ideas and I'm like, but I needed sleep for like 4 days, and then it's like ideas are like, no, like
Yeah.
everywhere. I do
You
want to
have,
point out, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I do want to point out before I like get into the third question or finish what you were saying, that I wanted to let everybody know that you did the music for my videos for me, and
yeah.
I really appreciate that. That's the one with, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like the one that I animated a little cat playing
Yeah.
guitar to. So thank you for that, and I just want to let everybody know that Bram made that.
Thank you.
And you should get, and if you've been watching my videos, you've been listening to him play.
It's fun. I actually really, it's nice to have little projects like that that come out of the blue, because it like takes you out of the hyper focus. Sometimes you get too focused on stuff and you burn out, and it's just nice to have like a refresher challenge. The guy who I made the first demo for, who I've stayed friends with, is starting a YouTube series about electronic stuff. And
Nice.
he asked me to do an intro for it. And I was like, oh, cool. What kind of animation do you want? And he was like, no, just music. And I was like, oh, cool.
Nice.
I forget that I'm a musician sometimes because it's been so focused on this project.
Yeah, that's your new job, is making intro music for people.
I would love it. I put up this Instagram, just real, just me noodling on a guitar, and somebody goes, oh, cool, be great soundtrack music. That would be my dream. If somebody wants me to pay me to make video game soundtracks or movie
There
soundtracks,
you go.
that would be the best. So
Yeah,
anyone,
that's always nice when you sort of like slide towards things like
well,
without having to like, you know, think about it or like grab for it too much.
Yeah, I mean, nobody sent me any offers yet, but
Yeah. Well,
often,
we're doing some manifesting here.
yeah,
Everybody who's watching, think it, and it'll eventually the energy will build up and it'll happen.
cool.
Maybe like hopefully at some point, like I'm like slowly, I've got a slow trickle of followers coming in, so hopefully there'll be, at least a dozen people now and hopefully more later that we'll see and then realize that you're good for projects.
Yeah,
That's why I'm trying to like also like sort of like create a dialogue with other artists and also like you know do my own little bit of trying to pimp my friends a little bit.
yeah. I mean, it's a cool idea for a series because I imagine everybody's got such a different take and approach.
Yeah, that's why I'm always asking the same three questions. Although I keep expanding question three, and it's gonna be like a book by the time I'm done with the series. I'm like,
Yeah,
stop
yeah.
adding stuff.
It's a big question. It's very
Yeah, I
interesting.
know. It's just like, have you encountered any of the following, and do you think it has a link to creativity? So it could be any or one of them. So it's paranormal,
Yeah,
psychedelics, and or neurodivergence.
yeah. So
And I,
should we?
I and I emailed you the questions so you know what the little like examples are, anyways.
Yeah, yeah. I did my best to like keep it fresh and not like I
Like
never like.
prepare.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah, it's fine.
maybe it's a smarter thing to prepare, but like I gave it some thought, but I was like, I don't want to come into this with like a
Yeah, I
script.
just like I don't want people to come in cold and then to be like, "What the hell, man? This isn't what I thought I was getting into."
Yeah, no, I think it's fair. It's
Yeah.
always a heads up. Um, yeah. So are we jumping into that one now?
If you want to, if you had something to finish saying, go ahead. We're not I'm not hammering through like a main TV interview, so you can circle back to it, you can skip it. It doesn't really matter.
Cool. Well, we're
Yeah.
meandering also. Yeah. So the third question,
Yeah.
it's a hard one to answer in some ways because like I think like I'm like inherently a skeptic in a lot of ways,
Mm,
but then there are a lot of things that I just can't explain. So I
right.
try to strike a middle path where I say nothing that I can not disprove is impossible.
Right.
Because like there were definitely some instances when I was in high school, for instance, like went through a Ouija board phase that had
Mm,
some really weird, extremely weird moments.
right.
Um, and we saw some things in the woods and all that stuff, and like they definitely creeped me out at the time,
Right.
but I don't have any answer for it either. And
Right.
it's like, for me, it's equally likely to have been something completely inexplicable or something that's a natural phenomenon that like Ouija boards. I'm like, my friends could have just been jerks. They may have
Right.
just been messing. So like, I don't really know. Like, I'm open to it, but I have more questions than I feel than I have answers about it. So I'm like, sure, maybe.
Hmm.
What I assume about the universe is that there's a lot that everything we understand now doesn't explain.
Right.
And I kind of at that. Like what that could mean. I find it super interesting, in the same way like I used to read books about string theory and like, kind
Hmm.
of like rumblings about time travel and parallel universes and all this stuff.
Yeah, I read that stuff too.
It's super interesting.
Yeah.
I don't find any one thing explains anything about the universe to like complete satisfaction.
Yeah.
That's science or any kind of philosophy or spiritual, and could be true,
Hmm.
but I definitiveness when there's so many
I
so many
think
variables.
it like every time you're saying something like really profound, it seems to cut out a little bit. But
Oh,
it's telling me that my internet connection is unstable. But I think most of your answer came through. I
okay.
always feel bad when it like chops up a little bit. I'm like, no.
It's the nature of the maybe I was about to reveal a secret of
I
the
know
universe.
someone's trying to silence you.
Exactly.
It's like, come and see the censorship inherent in the system. Help, help, I'm being repressed.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of moving on to tier 2, which is the psychedelics, patterns, drugs, smells, music, meditation.
Yeah.
I obviously music is very important to me.
Right.
I get a lot of um I do find a lot of like sense memories can be really impactful. Smells and sounds and things can really transport me to all kinds of different times in my life.
Right.
And I do think that's super interesting because I don't like I personally don't know how I would use that in my anything I do artistically, but I think there's a lot of like potential there to like play with people's perceptions to really get them to transport them in different ways, because I think sometimes words are enough, sometimes visual are enough, but the weirdest things will send you back to childhood.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Weird, snack foods you haven't encountered for a long time.
Oh, like the ecto cooler. They don't even sell that anymore.
Didn't it come back?
I thought so, but it's not there anymore.
Yeah, there's a few weird things like Yoo-hoo is something I haven't had in a
Oh
million.
man, yeah.
It's just like chocolate milk water.
Ew.
But like at the same time, I'm kind of like, I remember Yoo-hoo. I used to like shaking that bottle, and I had Orangina this past week,
Oh yeah, my
and
mom used to like that.
I loved it. And when it came in the little like Florence flask, and it looked
Oh
like a
yeah.
potion from a video game or something.
Yeah. And
So
the Crystal Pepsi there, that's a time
yeah,
frame for sure.
yeah, all the clear colas of the
Yeah, and it tasted awful. It's like that
yeah.
caramel color made all the difference.
You know what? I was surprised. Obviously, I didn't drink this in the period when it existed, but
Right.
what was that? The clear beer. You know what I mean?
Was it Everclear?
No, no.
Zima?
Zima, exactly. And
Hmm.
apparently that's still really popular somewhere in the US.
Oh, I didn't know they still had it. They have White Claw now. That's like the new
Mhm.
version, I
Oh, it's
guess.
like a seltzer or something, isn't it?
I don't
Fan-
know.
seltzer. Yeah, Zima was like a fruity. I remember my dad bought one
Uh-huh.
and tasted it and then was like, no, no, I'm gonna go back to drinking terrible domestic beer.
Yeah, my parents didn't do much of the like fruity
Hmm.
fizzy cocktail drinks. It's more of the
My mom
beer
was
wine kind of situation.
all about the wine coolers, bars, and
Uh-huh.
wine.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was like, I can't do the fruity bitch drinks. It's too much sugar. It makes me hurt.
yeah, I don't get it. There's one here. I don't know if they have it in the US. It's called Desperado. It's like tequila flavored beer.
I don't know if I've heard of that or not. It seems,
I'll
I
send
don't
you the
know.
title. It's repulsive. It was
Hmm.
the only drink I could get it was the
Is that in France or in England that you
oh,
found
sorry,
that?
yeah. This was England. They may have it here, but it was the beer that was free when we played a gig one night.
Oh,
Drink for the band, and it was the only night I ever just gave away all my drink tickets. I had one, and I was like, "This is disgusting. I can't
uh-huh,
do another one of these." And I gave away all my drink tickets because normally it's like Red Stripe or something, like
uh-huh,
lousy beer. But
uh-huh.
anyway, got off on a tangent there.
That's fine.
um, and then yeah, neurodivergence I think is super interesting because it's something that's talked about a lot more now than like when I was growing up. You
Yeah,
a lot of my friends who are now, as everybody's approaching, 40 years
yeah,
of age, um, everybody's like kind of figuring themselves out
yeah,
in a way that they were let down by the system for the other 30, 40 years of their life. So like I'm finding a lot of my friends and people I know are like suddenly like, oh, it sounds like I've got ADHD or autism.
yeah,
And I've always had a suspicion that I've got something in some form.
yeah.
Uh,
I'm in the same boat there.
I'm guessing I'm somewhere in the autistic spectrum just because
Mhm.
I get hyper focused on things. I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't because I don't really read about it very like I read about it and then I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, that sounds kind of like me and like I can see some of the signs and stuff. But like I think one of the reasons I've never bothered to go get it checked out is because I'm like, I don't want to cure it. like I'm happy, like I'm comfortable being whoever I am, like for better or for
Right.
worse. I'm not looking for like answers. It would be maybe kind of interesting, but like then I go, oh, and I would never do anything with that information ever again. So like for some people, I think it can be a real struggle, and like that that and but like for me, I think what it does is it gives me whatever is going on up there. It gives me this like intense drive to get things done.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the only like major differences between people, like, because I don't know if this happens to you all the time, but like when I talk to people who aren't like, who don't do artsy stuff or whatever, they go, wow, how do you do this? Like, how do you have time for this? How do you come up with this stuff, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, really the only difference for me is that I get very motivated to do these things, and I get really excited about it, and I'll wake up and roll out of bed and go to my computer and start drawing first thing in the morning. And then I'll go and do my 8-9 hours of work, whatever I work now, at my day job. Times where I'll like just work myself to a full burnout.
Yeah,
but
I'm
like,
all burnt out all the time.
but at the same time, if I wasn't doing that, I would. Whenever I'm not doing it, I feel guilty. Like if I don't produce something for like a week, I get
Exactly.
guilt. So like I mean, it's like an addiction of sorts. But
A compulsion.
yeah, but at the same time, I don't want it to go anywhere because I'm like, life is short. I want to get as much out as I can
Yeah.
because I like it. Like it's what I want to be doing. it's
Yeah. It's
I
hard to say like where the need to create comes from, but it's like you can't like not do it at some point. But
yeah.
I experienced that too. I read a book once some years ago where it's described as washed up child prodigy, and I'm like, me, hello, over here.
Yeah, it's funny because I was never I was not a child prodigy. I was like uh it's funny because my older sister was like, when we were kids, she was like musically gifted. She liked to draw. She was making, she wanted to be a fashion designer. She was making clothes and doing all this stuff. And I was like, until I was 15 or 16, I was like a typical, kid. I was like, I'm going to ride my bike. I'm going to play video games. I'm going to splash around in the lake a bunch. Um, I'm going to watch a lot of TV. And then like, there was just some tipping point where like, when I started that band with your brother and
Right.
Cameron,
The Dustman.
the Dustmen, all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is what I have been missing, like this output. Like I always like to doodle, I always like to like play with Legos and stuff, but I never had any like focus. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I could see doing this. And then I got really into writing, and I
Yeah,
ended
we
up
were
going.
actually in creative writing in high school. We had the same class.
Yeah, so I can't remember the teacher on that one.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I remember like 5 people that were in the class.
Yeah,
One of
was
whom
Maddie
is
B
no
in
longer
that?
with us, but yeah, I don't remember who the teacher was either. I'd have to look at my transcripts.
Yeah, I don't have my transcripts. I'll never look back. Anyway, yeah, it was fun. I'm glad that Kearsarge actually made a little room for stuff like that because it was not the most artistically focused school
Yeah, unless
in
you
a
were
lot.
like in band or some shit.
Yeah, and I was in chorus, and then like peripherally, I was in like drama club and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I don't think I ever thought, especially back then, I didn't think of myself as a visual artist because
No.
I can't look at something and draw it. It's just not in my DNA.
Mhm.
I can't draw realistic things. I get bored. It just doesn't like excite
Yeah.
me. So that's why I'm like, oh, I'm gonna draw some, crocodile in a
Mhm.
tuxedo and all this stuff
Yeah.
that I find really. You
Yeah,
watch it.
I don't want to cut you off, but there's only like a minute and a half left on this.
Yeah.
Did you want to continue on another thing, or do you just want to like wrap up for a minute?
It's up to you.
Well,
I mean,
I didn't want to cut you off if you were still talking.
oh, you got to cut me off at some point.
Oh, okay. Well, do you have I actually kind of should be going to do something else right now.
Cool.
So thank you for coming in. Do you have anything else you want to say in the last minute about anything that you're doing or anything that people want to Oh, it
Yeah.
froze a little bit.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
It froze for a second, so if you started saying something, it got cut off.
Oh, I just said thanks for having me.
Oh, okay.
Anybody who wants to check out some weird animation and stuff, it's on YouTube. If you like the music and you don't like the animation, it's on Spotify and all the other things.
Great.
And, yeah, I don't know. That's,
All right.
that's the
Well,
main thing I'm up to right now.
all right. Thanks for coming on. And sorry we got a little bit of a time crunch. And I'll see you
Sure.
around.
All right.
All
Good
right.
talking.
Bye. Thanks, Bram.
See you.
Bye. CATtheMinion energy work is focused on building a community around creativity and connectivity. Connect to new friends, the universe, and yourself. Shift your perspective of everyday life. Alleviate the stresses of daily life by tapping into self-expression. Help me build my offerings around your needs by investing, interacting, and brainstorming new things we can do. Your financial contributions via donations, purchases of goods and services, and participation on Patreon allow me to pay mundane bills, upgrade to better interactive services and equipment, and to buy art supplies and materials. Additionally, your support helps me pay it forward to charities, other energy workers, and artists, and to gain more visibility so our community can reach even more who need it. You can find a number of the goods and services I offer by clicking the links from my website, cattheminion.wordpress.com, or from my link tree, depending on your preference, linktr.ee/cattheminion. I'm offering original art pieces, digital downloads, art prints, merch, tarot readings, divination tools, templates, coloring books, a dark poetry book, YouTube content, self-care encouragement, and more.